Have you ever wondered how people can so clearly tell a story about a conversation they had? Or how journalists report on interviews? Well, it's not some kind of magic trick. It's a communication tool called reported speech. And today, we're going to crack its code.
We've all been there, right? You're trying to tell your friend what someone said, and it just falls flat. Getting it right is a real skill. And trust me, once you nail it, your writing and even your everyday stories will be so much more engaging.
So, when you're trying to report what someone else said, you basically have two options, two main ways to get the message across. Once you see how each one works, you'll be able to use them both like a pro.
All right, those two forms are direct and indirect speech. Think of them as two different tools in your communication toolkit, each one perfect for a different job.
Okay, so here's the difference. Direct speech is like a photograph. It captures the person's exact words. You can almost hear their voice. Indirect speech, on the other hand, is more like a summary or a painting. It gives you the main idea, the essence of what was said, but in your own words. And notice the biggest clue? Those quotation marks totally disappear when we switch to indirect.
Here's a perfect example of direct speech. She said, "I am busy today." See? We're quoting her word for word, exactly as she said it. This is what you use when the specific words really matter.
And now, here's that same sentence, but transformed. Notice what happened? We shifted the perspective. I becomes she. And because we're reporting it later, the time shifts back, so am becomes was. The whole sentence reflects that we're talking about it after it happened.
So, how do you actually do that? How do you make that switch from direct to indirect speech without messing it up? Well, it's not just guesswork. There are 3 specific keys that will unlock this conversion for you every single time.
And here they are, your 3 keys to cracking the code. You've got to change the tense, change the pronouns, and change any words about time and place. Master these 3 things, and you can report just about any conversation perfectly. Let's break them down one by one.
First up, tense. Now, the golden rule here is pretty simple. You just take one step back into the past. It makes perfect sense, right? The original speaking happened before you started reporting it. So something said in the present gets reported in the past. Will becomes would, and can becomes could. Easy.
Our second key is all about perspective. Whose point of view are we seeing? So if someone says, "I love my work," we're seeing it through their eyes. But when we report it, we're changing the camera angle. Now we're talking about them, so I becomes she and my becomes her. It's a small change, but it's absolutely crucial for making sense.
And key number 3 is all about context. I mean, if someone says, "I'll meet you here tomorrow," and you're telling the story a week later in a totally different city, well, here and tomorrow don't make any sense anymore, do they? They have to become there and the next day. You're basically just updating the map so it matches the new reality.
Okay, so now that you've got the 3 main keys, let's level up and see how they work on some trickier sentences. We can use these exact same ideas to report things like questions and even commands.
So, what happens when you're not reporting a statement, but a question? The main rules about tense and pronouns still apply, but we just need to make a couple of small tweaks to get the sentence structure right.
It's actually pretty simple. First, you usually change the reporting verb to asked. Then, for yes or no question like "Are you coming?" you add the word if or whether. And for questions that already start with words like who, what, or where, you just keep that question word right in the sentence.
All right, on to the next puzzle. How do you report a command or a request? You know, something like, "Close the door." How do you get that instruction across without using the quotation marks? For commands, we usually use a verb like told or maybe ordered. For a softer request, we might use asked. But the real magic here is one tiny word, to. You put it right before the verb. So update the file becomes, "She told me to update the file." That little word to does all the heavy lifting.
So we've gone over all the mechanics, but let's talk about why this is so important. Mastering reported speech isn't just about passing a grammar quiz. It's a genuine superpower that gives you so much more control and precision in how you share information.
I mean, think about it. If you're writing an essay for school, you're always talking about what other people have said. In a job, you need to be able to summarize what happened in a meeting. And honestly, even in your personal life, it's the difference between a story that goes nowhere and one that has everyone hanging on your every word.
So there you have it. The code is cracked. You now have the keys to talk about what other people have said with both style and accuracy.
So the next time you write something or tell a story, think about how you can use these tools to make your message even more powerful. How are you going to use your new superpower?